Ghost Recon is the new release from Ubisoft, and it's fun. That's the review. There's not much else to say. Well, maybe a bit more. Hi, I'm Mighty Mr. Mustache, the mightiest mustache in the universe, and I'm here with my review of Ubisoft's new offering, Ghost Recon Wildlands. I suppose I could say a few things about this sandbox game set in the wilds of Bolivia. You and your team of special elite military dudes take on a cocaine cartel, playing the typical sandbox style of game where you take on different regions, do little missions to bring out the boss, and then take the territory back for your side. It's nothing new. It's a very typical example of the sandbox game that we've seen for the last 5 or 10 years. If you played GTA or Mad Max or Infamous, Far Cry, Just Cause, you know the type. This game will be instantly familiar. For some of you, this will be an instant turnoff. But I will say that the game is very playable and enjoyable. Ghost Recon doesn't break any new ground, but kind of like a familiar meal that you've enjoyed since your childhood, it's still good. Nothing special is going to be a recurring theme in this review, and I'm sorry in advance for you getting tired of hearing me say it. Graphically, the game is average at best, with some totally basic character creation choices in all the flavors of army and scar and tattoo. The countryside of cartel-controlled Bolivia is expansive. In fact, it's a huge map. But it still has that sandbox weirdness to its distance scaling. I don't think I'll ever be able to figure out how something can look 10 miles away, actually scan at about 1 kilometer away, and for some reason still take 15 minutes to drive to by car. But that's a sandbox game in a nutshell. Jumping in a vehicle is as easy as grabbing any unattended car or truck or helicopter that you find, and even carjacking is simple and consequence-free as long as you don't actually kill the person you're stealing the car from. I almost feel that not having any consequences for literally stealing any vehicle you feel like as often as you feel like is missing something in a game about winning the people away from the brutal drug cartel. But considering how rough and accident prone the driving mechanics are, it kinda makes some sense. As the game stands, if you were penalized for bumping into allied vehicles or running civilians off the road, then the game would be unplayable. At the moment also, some PlayStation 4 controllers have an issue with reaching full speed on some vehicles. It's something to do with how the R2 trigger recognizes the distance you've pulled it. And I posted a separate video about why this is and how you can quick fix it yourself, and I'll put a link in the description below. Ghost Recon Wildlands comes with all of the skills you might expect from a small squad game. You have a squad of you and 3 buddies. Like the ability to mark your targets and have your squad mates take them out, or the ability to deploy a drone and mark all the bad guys in an area. Ranking up the skill takes skill points, which you can collect from places around the map, and it also takes resources, which you need to capture. It's a good motivator for doing those small side missions, and unlike a lot of previous games of this type, pretty much all of the missions are in keeping with the story. They feel like part of the story. You're not going to find any random racetracks or obstacle courses in the violent and brutal world of South American cocaine country. Side missions have you hijack small aircraft or convoys of valuable supplies, defend a radio tower while your rebel allies stage a pirate broadcast against the cartel. So the silliness of most sandbox games, or those strange little side quests that make no real sense to the context of the game, are not found in Ghost Recon Wildlands. For better or for worse. If you liked them, you'll miss them, and if you didn't like them, you won't miss them. Every mission from the main story to the little side quests feel like they're advancing the game in a meaningful way. One thing I feel that Ghost Recon gets right is that you feel vulnerable and weak. Yes, you're a highly trained elite special force, but you aren't superheroes. Bullets can and will kill you, and they'll kill you fast in comparison to most shooter games. Your teammates can revive you, but if you're playing solo, you only get 1 revive per mission. So the option of running into a highly defended compound with your guns blazing and just tanking all the bad guys is not going to be there, at least for the majority of the early and mid game. Even towards the end, when you're taking on the harder areas, while you yourself will have better weapons and be tougher, the enemies will be able to keep up. If you're already a fan of sandbox open world games and you know what to expect from a game of this sort, then Ghost Recon will absolutely impress you with its emphasis on stealth and mission planning. You will learn quickly and learn the hard way that even a single overlooked enemy soldier can take you out in a couple of seconds. And once alerted, a base will be flooded with overwhelming reinforcements, including attack helicopters and minigun-toting vehicles. Being a sneaky bastard and making the most of your ability to scout out a mission beforehand is really the only way to get the most and best from the game. Alerted capture targets flee and leave you with nothing to show for your efforts, and you can kill the rank and file punks all day long and gain nothing. There's always going to be more of them. That being said, a few things should be high on the list for the first patches to come out. The way the game takes away little things like your navigation map or your button prompts in key places makes trying the harder difficulties more aggravating than challenging. Currently, when you set to higher difficulty, you can turn off your HUD, your heads-up display. And if you choose to play with it off, it means you're driving around the roads with no idea of which way to go next because you lose your mini-map, even though the travel is not part of the mission. You also find yourself losing key button prompts. If you need to capture someone, let's say, when you get close enough to them, you'll be prompted to grab them with a button. Once you've grabbed them, you'll be prompted to either let them go, knock them out, interrogate them, intimidate them. These are all different buttons. On the harder difficulties, for some reason, you lose those button prompts. And that's more annoying than challenging. It doesn't add anything to the difficulty of the mission. It just, gets on your nerves. So that's something that definitely needs to be high on a list of patches, is a change to the UI that allows you to select which of the individual parts you want to turn on and off. Do I want no minimap while I'm in a mission, but leave it while I'm in a vehicle so that I can get from mission to mission without constantly getting lost? Do I want to keep my button prompts, but do I want to turn off the ability to permanently mark enemies once they're spotted? That way I have to just remember where they were. Those things add to the challenge of the game. Things like button prompts and navigation aids are just aggravating. You don't have them. Very aggravating. To make things short and sweet, Ghost Recon doesn't bring anything new to the table when it comes to sandbox-style games, but it does bring all the things you expect, and does it pretty well. The vehicles handle like crap, but solid driving isn't really necessary. The weapons are generic and work like standard shooter weapons, but they feel solid and real, and with an accuracy that depends mostly on you and your skill. The game looks pretty good and has enough of a soundtrack and some comedy relief moments to make it fun and keep you entertained. But it's not the most graphically beautiful game ever built, and no one's going to run out and buy the soundtrack because it's, phenomenal. It's just good enough. Ghost Recon is enjoyable, playable, probably replayable as well, especially if you have a team of co-op players who you can just laugh and have a good time with. I have a feeling that every professional reviewer on the internet is going to hate this game. Not because it isn't good, but when you spend your days playing every new game that comes out so you can review it, then another basic open sandbox game that feels like Far Cry is going to make guys like Angry Joe cringe. For my part, I'm glad I picked it up, and I'm looking forward to getting good enough to try some of the hardest difficulty with a team of my friends in co-op. And you can look forward here on my channel. I'm planning to start a Let's Play co-op with my clan. Other than that, pick it up, or not, and give it a try. It's very meh, but it's a good sort of meh. It's nothing new, but it does it very well. I've been your host, Mighty Mr. Mustache. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my review. Have a great day and have some great gaming.